Congress is looking over proposed FAA reauthorization legislation, and as of right now, it is the most general aviation friendly reauthorization legislation that AOPA has ever seen. And AOPA Senior Vice President of Government Affairs, Jim Coon, joins us to give us more information and some highlights of what's in the legislation.
AOPA keeps flying safe, accessible, and fun by protecting your freedom to fly. We are the most trusted one-stop resource for all things related to general aviation. Become an AOPA pilot today.
Jim, thanks for taking time to join us and give us the insider information.
Hey, no problem, Melissa. Great to be here.
Yeah. So before we dive into the details, can you give everybody just a high-level overview of what FAA reauthorization is and why it's important to us?
Sure, absolutely. You know, these big FAA reauthorization bills, they come around once every 4 or 5 years, and they address all of the programs administered by the Federal Aviation Administration, and every sector of the aviation community is all wrapped up in this big bill. So it's a huge deal for us, and I have to say, I have to echo your comments. I mean, this is the most comprehensive FAA reauthorization, or any legislation for that matter, that is directly focused on helping secure general aviation's future. So we're really excited about it. It's been a lot of hard work, but you know, we're very happy with where we are right now. You know, and obviously we're really at step one of the legislative process. So it has to go through the committee, which is it's happening today and tomorrow, and then it goes to the House floor. The Senate is doing their FAA reauthorization bill this week as well. And then they have a similar process where it goes to the Senate floor. And then the House and Senate get together and reconcile all the differences in the bill and negotiate a final bill, which then ultimately has to get voted on again by the House and Senate. And then it goes to the President. So we're at the very beginning of this process, but we're off to a really good start.
That's great. So can you tell us, for general aviation, what's the most important aspect of this legislation?
Well, you know, there's so much in here, as I mentioned, and you know, there's a big investment in general aviation airports and non-primary airports, where funding for construction projects have increased in this bill. And our viewers need to know that we're not borrowing money or spending taxpayer dollars. These are monies that people who use the aviation system pay into a trust fund, and that trust fund is exclusively used to fund the FAA and projects and programs across the country. So, but they're reprogramming, if you will, or putting more of a focus on airport construction. They're going from $3.35 billion a year to $4 billion, and the large share of the largest share of increase goes to GA airports and smaller airports. So excited about that. There's more money in here for GA hangar construction to address the shortage of hangars across the country, and it's hangars for up to 5,000 square feet. So they're really looking out for the general aviation operator. So really excited about that. There's BasicMed expansion in here. The current limitation to fly under BasicMed an aircraft is 6,000 pounds. This bill moves it up to 12,500, essentially covering every aircraft in the GA fleet, piston engine aircraft in the fleet. So increases the number of passengers from 5 to 6. And so those kinds of things. It includes DPE reform and getting that program to where it needs to be. And it would allow DPEs to fly under BasicMed. So we have that going for us. It stops the N number profiteering from the aircraft registry. The list goes on and on and on. It ensures that 100 low lead fuel remains available while the GA fleet tries to transition to an unleaded fuel. So that's really key for a smart and safe transition. Airports will be required to have 100 low lead on their airport while we transition. So those are the kinds of things that are in here. There's a lot more, but those are some of the highlights.
That's great. Thank you for those highlights. And I know that, AOPA has done a ton of work behind the scenes. And one of the things that's really important to AOPA has been airport access and reasonable fees when parking at an airport. For example, if you're not using any services from an FBO. And I understand that there's some language regarding that in this legislation as well.
Well, we're trying to get that language in there. This is unfortunately a dogfight, and that's why AOPA President Mark Baker sent out his call to action recently. And I'm encouraging all members to, or anybody that supports GA to write their member of Congress and ask them to urge them to include language that would ensure that pilots have access to all airports, and that FBOs and airports, the fees that they charge, if they do charge a fee, needs to be fair and reasonable. And that's all we're really asking for. There's a lot of opposition from the FBO community, a lot of opposition from the airport community. And, in my mind, this is kind of we fought ATC privatization a few years ago, and now we're fighting this airport privatization where these are really public use facilities. They're paid for through our tax dollars in part, and they should be required to charge fair and reasonable fees. There's no sense in my mind where you have to pay over $400 to park your aircraft for half an hour, and not even use any of the services or amenities provided by the FBO, or charging $80 for 10 minutes to park, so your student could go and use the restroom. 10 minutes, $80. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And we AOPA have been able to put together a coalition of pilot organizations from around the country, nearly 600, who are supporting what we're trying to do. Senator Ted Budd from North Carolina has introduced legislation on the Senate side, and he's going to try to attach this to the Senate bill over there. And we're very, very supportive of that. That happens this week. So we really need to push on this because, like I say, the airport lobby, the FBO lobby, they're adamantly opposed to, for some reason, fair and reasonable fees.
Okay. And, Jim, I tell you what we'll do, and all you viewers, if you just look in the description below on this video, we'll have links in there from the call to action where you can click and go directly there and you can get your support in for this.
That's great.
Okay. Now, you mentioned BasicMed. In this legislation, is there anything else for modernizing or transforming the Aeromedical Certification process for pilots?
Well, yes, and there is, and we were very vocal on that and pushed very aggressively to get language included that would establish a working group to address the medical process, especially the special issuance process, to help modernize that, to look at mental health issues, all of the protocols that you can imagine, and they need to be addressed. They need to be addressed by AMEs, by medical experts, and we need, and the mechanism that we need is to develop these protocols, find the resources to get where we need to go and fix this. Our federal air surgeon is really trying to do her best, and we're trying to move it along a bit faster. Things like ADHD, ADD, all kind of things that need to be addressed to fix our medical program. So really excited about that, and we're hopeful that it'll make its way into law.
Yeah, that will be welcome news for so many pilots in the community. Now, I understand that Representative Sam Graves has been a big part of bringing this language out in the House version. Can you share a little bit of, background on how Sam has been working on this and all that he's done for general aviation?
Absolutely. I can't say enough about Representative Graves, who's the chairman of the House Transportation Committee. He's an avid and active GA pilot. He understands our industry. And so this is why I think in part it's been so helpful to have him in his position and understand what GA needs. He and his team have just done a phenomenal job He should be very proud. He's put together a really good bill, and AOPA is very pleased to support it.
And who are some of the other movers and shakers that our viewers should know about who've been, working hard behind the scenes for general aviation on Capitol Hill?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier Senator Ted Budd from North Carolina, former House member, GA pilot, really active. It's his first term in the Senate, and he has taken the bull by the horns, and he's looking out for general aviation. We have a number of folks like that, but during this current process, I would select those two as being the real leaders in trying to address issues for general aviation.
Well, thank you, Jim. I appreciate all that you and the entire advocacy team have been doing to get this great general aviation language included and out there for the most favorable one that AOPA has ever seen. And let's hope it makes it all the way through the process to the president with everything in it we want.
Well, we'll keep working as hard as we possibly can for general aviation and for our members. So thank you.
Well, if you found this information helpful, be sure to like and subscribe so you can stay up to date on all our videos. And of course, we'll bring you updates throughout the process on how the FAA reauthorization legislation is moving through Congress.